Hello, hello, hello. It is Hershey Me, your girl, Miss Jennifer Pink, and I just want to share with you my story. The story of how I went from a single mom of three kids to with 1, 2, 3 baby daddies to growing through my ish to becoming the woman that you see before you today. So no fluff, no extras. Let's just jump right into it, right? So when I was younger, I remember when, I got asked the age-old question, what do you want to be when you grow up? I answered, I want to be an obstetrician, gynecologist, pediatrician. I wanted to deliver babies. I wanted to work with mommies, and I wanted to work with babies. Like, I had really, really lofty goals. Actually, I don't even know anyone who does all three of those things. I don't even know if it's possible. But somewhere along the line, someone told me about how much school that actually took, and I was like, that's not gonna work. So then, fast forward a couple of years, I'm at West LA College, and I'm going to become a teacher. I want to be an early childhood development teacher. I want to own my own school. I really wanted to work with babies. Like, babies were my thing. Kids were my thing. Yeah. Then I had kids, right? And I was like, that's not going to work either, because one of these kids are not going to make it home. And since it's not okay for me to kill your kids, my kids probably will suffer. So let's just figure something else out. So I left it all alone completely, and I went into admin type work. So that's just my backstory of what I wanted to be in my life and then what I ended up doing in life, right? But how did I end up a single mom of 3 with 3 kids? So I was born an only child to a single parent. I was surrounded by lots of single parents, my mom's friends, aunts and uncles, cousins, those types of things. Everybody was a single parent. My grandparents were still married, but they were probably one of the few married people I knew, if not the only. My grandparents were very instrumental in my bringing up. I really thought we were rich. We weren't. I learned that. But I thought we were rich. I didn't understand the word no. I didn't understand, I didn't understand the word no in the concept of because we couldn't afford it. It was no because not right now, or no because, you're not acting right, or things of that nature. Very few times was it no because I can't afford it. My mom worked really, really hard. She worked a full-time job to put me into school because education was super important for my family. So I went to some of the best schools. I started in the Montessori school system. If you don't know anything about it, let me just tell you, it is the best, hands down, the best. And for Montessori, I did private schools. I did Catholic schools. My number one favorite memory, as far as schools are concerned, is I went to an all-Black militant school called Marcus Garvey. Definitely did a lot for why I am the woman I am today, that is just a proponent for change in the Black community. But school education was super important, and my mom worked really hard to make sure that I got a great education. I watched my grandparents support my mother as far as raising me, whether it meant picking me up from school, taking me to school, whether it meant, giving me dinner. I always joke that I had dinner at senior citizen hours. Whether it meant, helping us buy a house, whether it meant just standing in the gap in any way possible. My grandparents were there as far as I can remember. And I remember a lot. But something happened. I turned about 13, and that was kind of when the rift between my mother and I started. And there was the typical teenage stuff, right? You think you know everything. You got this figured out. And then there was, there was the issues of, my mom was working a lot and I was home a lot. I guess we called them latchkey kids. I don't know if they still say that term, right? And I just started smelling my Wheaties, right? And I just thought I could just do what I wanted to do and be who I wanted to be. And then boys came into play. We all know what happens when boys come into play. What really happened, now that I'm looking back on it, is my insecurities, my lack of true self-esteem, self-worth is what really shined through. All my life I had heard, oh, you're so pretty. Oh, your hair is so pretty. Oh, she has long, pretty hair. She's so pretty. Look at her. I had heard these things, but for whatever reason, I didn't absorb them. They were not part of my worth DNA. I struggled. I did not think I was pretty. I did not think I was good enough. I thought I was okay, right? Like, I looked better than some people, but I was just okay. And I measured myself up constantly to other people. Another thing that I struggled with was friends. Being an only child, we look at our friends like they are sisters and brothers. They're the world, right? They're everything. And I had very few friends who saw me in that way. I didn't make the friends in kindergarten that stayed friends all the way through high school. I didn't really make the friends in middle school to high school. I didn't make really good friends in high school. So all of these things kind of came into play when I became a teenager and boys started paying me attention. The biggest red flag from my childhood is I was 13 dating a 21-year-old man. I love the fact that he made me feel pretty and he made me feel wanted. And that's just really the truth of it. Like, I needed that attention. I needed to feel like I was worth something to someone else. The other big thing from my childhood is that I found myself at the hands of the juvenile justice system. I was removed from my mother's home, and I sat in court, and you know, my mother's frustration and my mother's anger over our situation and our relationship was just so devastating that she felt like she couldn't take me back. She felt like she couldn't do anything for me, and I needed to learn a lesson. Gratefully, thankfully, I did not stay in the juvenile detention system. I did do house arrest. I did do probation, and I eventually became a ward of the court. But I didn't really do any like hard time, right? Because who knows how that would have turned me out. But so this thing with men, it just kept going. At 16, I was working a full-time job, living with my grown boyfriend, playing house. Like, let's just keep it real. I was playing house. I was cooking. I was kind of cleaning. I'm not really a cleaner. But I was working full-time, bringing home the money. Like, trying to build a life. And not long after that, at 18, I met the man that I had my first kid by. At 21, I had my first baby. So here I was, a 21-year-old single mom. And I just kept pushing. Like, it didn't faze me. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is too much. My world is ending. I was 21. I had a decent job at Home Depot, making decent money. And I was like, let's go. Like, let's make it happen. Who cares that I'm a single mom? Like, because I had seen single moms my whole life. So to me, it wasn't a big thing. And then sometime a year or so after I had her, I was like, you know what? I'm done with these types of men that I was dating. And I'm going to keep it real. I was dating the hustlers. I was dating the dudes in the street. I was dating the gangbangers, but the smart ones, not the ones who was just up killing people, but like the higher ups. Let's just put it like that. These are the type of men that I attracted. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to date these kinds of men anymore. So I ran to the complete opposite, thinking that the men were the problem. And I ended up meeting a man, and we became great friends. And I told him I was getting married. We were getting married, and we got married. We had another kid, and about 2 years into that, it was time for divorce, because this wasn't the marriage that was made for me from the beginning. Like, it just wasn't. We're not going to just no. I should have never been there. But so now I am this single mom of 2 kids. And at that point, I wasn't working anymore because I was a stay-at-home mom. And I had no income. And, through some situations, I had no money, So here I am. I'm like, okay, I got to get a job. And I'm looking for a job like every single day, just constantly looking for a job. And I cannot find one. And I'm getting frustrated. Like, Target won't hire me. Like, how was Target not hiring me? And and then I'm starting to say, like, how is this my life? Like, how am I not a college graduate right now? How do I have 2 kids? Like, it was just a lot. And I was getting overwhelmed and frustrated. And I was probably on the verge of a nervous breakdown. And then I ended up becoming homeless. So now I'm homeless with 2 kids, with no way to really provide for them. Yes, I'm on welfare, but it's just, if you've ever been on welfare, like, what does that do for you? Especially if you're not like one of those hood people that we think about who's like living with their mama and it's like 20 million kids, right? Like, it doesn't do much. We ate good, but that was about it. And so a friend of mine said, well, why don't you start a business? And I said, start a business? Like, I don't make anything. I don't have anything to sell. Like, I'm going to start a business. And he was like, you just need to start a business to keep your mind occupied. Because, like, I guess it was that clear that I was going to go crazy soon. And I didn't have a lot of friends in my circle supporting me at this time. I was going through things with my family at this time. I think they were just really disappointed in who I was and where my life was headed. And they didn't know really the best way to help me. So I started my business, and I started a nonprofit, and the goal of my nonprofit was to bring like-minded women together and build real relationships, because that's something I struggled with. I struggled with building real friendships with other women. And so, I started it, and I put everything that I knew about excellence, about how you should show up in the world. I kind of put all of that together to create this nonprofit. And lo and behold, the day I got my logo is the day I got called for another interview. And I ended up getting offered the job the same day. And then I got an apartment like the next day. So I went from the bottom of the bottom of the bottom to, okay, like, my life is getting back on track. And I didn't just get a job, I got a career, something that I could grow in. I got about 5 or 6 raises there, 5 or 6 promotions there. So it was definitely a career. It was a career path. But at the same time, I didn't lose my business. Like, I kept working on my business because it just seemed to be like a part of me. It seemed to be like a missing piece to me. Lo and behold, it was helping me figure out who I was. I didn't know that at the time. It was just kind of a piece of me. And so after about a year at this job, boom, I end up pregnant again. Who does that, right? That was like totally in my mindset. And I just knew that this was my devastation. Like, this was the end of me. I was going to not be able to do anything after this. But, thankful to God, God really used that child to help me get clear on me, help me start loving me. But the road to loving me, and I call that baby my catalyst for change. But I call the road to the catalyst of me changing my life and becoming who you see today. It wasn't easy. It wasn't without setbacks. It wasn't without stumbling blocks. It wasn't without me throwing up my hands saying, I'm done, I'm over it. It wasn't without even more hardship. I still ended up in a domestic violence relationship where I almost died. Like, literally, he almost choked me to death in front of my children. I still ended up in other relationships. I call them situationships, friends with benefits, just not knowing my worth and not knowing that I was worthy of something great, worthy of love, honestly, because they didn't love me. But I kept pushing and I kept going. And as I kept going and as I kept pushing, I got to that point where I was able to say, do you love you, Jennifer? Like, who are you? What is your worth? And going through that process and getting clear on who I was and who I was destined to be, and getting clear on the lessons that I needed to learn from all the pain and all the trauma, the heartbreak, the broken promises that I had been through, all of those things helped me to realize the purpose. And I can go back and I can see how I was that little girl who wanted to be a pediatrician, obstetrician, gynecologist, to how I am still walking in that purpose. I am helping mothers and families daily. Like, so I'm doing the same work and I'm holding on to the same purpose. I'm just doing it in a different way because I had to go through some things to get here. And I think that that is the biggest lesson and takeaway for me, is that we sometimes forget that our purpose, we were born with it, and we knew it as a child. And these things happen in life, and we get discombobulated, and all this stuff happens, and then we kind of lose sight of it, and we've got to just work to feed the kids, or we got to get a job, or whatever it is. We got to get out there and make life happen, and we don't know how to get back to who we are. We don't know how to understand who we are. But I promise you that the road to becoming you needed all those things to happen, because all those things play a part in you fulfilling your purpose. And purpose has a lot to do with the pain and the lessons. And it just all comes together for this one unique moment. And that is really my story, and that is how I got to where I am, and that is who I am today. I am Miss Jennifer Pink. I am a transformational mommy growth coach. I help mommies reconnect with the woman inside of them, to tell their story and to grow through that ish. Like, we got to grow through our story, not just tell it, not just know it, but actually grow through it so that we can walk in our purpose confidently daily. And so that's what I'm able to do every single day, but only because I went through what I went through. And I just wanted to share with y'all my story. And I can't wait to work with each of you individually in the Mommy Monologue Challenge. Thank you for saying yes to you and joining me on this journey. And I can't wait. So until next time, I wish you love, peace, and baby powder freshness. Mwah!